close the talent gap on teams like Georgia, Alabama, and Texas, the Auburn Tigers have a big recruiting weekend. Can they get it done this weekend and close that talent gap? That's next on the Portal Podcast.
Locked On presents The Portal, the daily podcast covering college football recruiting and everything NIL. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back into the Portal Podcast, where you get your daily recruiting, NIL, and transfer portal scoop. I'm your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football writer and recruiting analyst. Thank you for making the Portal Podcast your first listen each and every day. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. The Auburn Tigers have lined up yet another really impressive list of official visitors. From running back all the way through the defensive line and on down to linebacker, etc., they have some really good players. My questions before we get into this: can they close? And if they don't, is the gap between those elite programs like Texas, Georgia, Texas A&M, maybe LSU, is it going to be a little bit wider? They've got big weekends too, with many of the same kids that Auburn is hosting this first weekend of official visits. And yes, this is truly the first big weekend of official visitors. Can they get it done, or will they go on and end up playing for some of their rivals? So this is an important one. Later on in the show, I want to talk about some of those concerns. There's a few players that Auburn could really use, but I'm not so sure it's going to work out. We'll talk about that later, but I just kind of want to go through the list, give a little bit of my thought on some of these players, what I've heard, what I've gained for them over time from interviewing them, and go from there. So first off, and again, this is no particular order here by any means, Jae Lamar, running back out of one of my favorite high school programs in the United States, Colquitt County in central Georgia. He is a downhill thumper, 200, 205 pounds, can catch the ball well, 6 foot, 6'1", athletic, and he's just really good after contact. He reminds you of a Big Ten or SEC running back from 1985 that would take on 25 carries, come off the field and not think anything about it. He has that kind of mentality. And he's a guy, again, that can catch the football. I've seen him at Under Armour, really elite athlete. Georgia, Florida State, Miami, Clemson, these are some of the programs that are after him. If Auburn is going to score on Jae Lamar, this is their chance. Because like the Clemson visit coming up, Georgia visit coming up, those are programs that do a great job closing. Auburn's running back room is not super crowded, and it doesn't have a number one guy, so they got something to sell, and they just put a really good player in the NFL. They've got obviously a great history at running back, Bo Jackson among others. Maybe this is their opportunity to kind of steal some thunder and get a kid out of Georgia. When Auburn has the top classes for their program, Georgia's a major part of it. They always steal a few kids that UGA, Bama, Clemson, LSU, even schools like Ohio State or Notre Dame want. They have a chance, but it's got to be this weekend. There has to be some movement with Jae Lamar. Deron Parks, if I'm going to pick any kid from this weekend to commit, it would be Mr. Parks. He's a young man I know, plays at Cardinal Mooney down in Sarasota, Florida. Had a chance to see him at the Under Armour event in Orlando. And afterwards, he made it clear that Auburn was doing the best at recruiting him. And I haven't heard anything different about another school surpassing Auburn. And as my buddy Zach Wackerby from Locked On Auburn will tell you, I'm never disappointed when Auburn gets an offensive line. This kid could play guard or tackle, really talented player, really good feet, just needs to lose some weight and reshape his body. He's 340-ish, give or take, but you can't teach the athleticism. He's got several big-time programs after him, Penn State and Ohio State among them. Kentucky's a school. Do not be surprised if they make a run. They probably are going to throw some NIL at him. They don't normally get kids like him. So if Deron Parks takes that official visit to Kentucky, that's something to think about. Another one that I think Auburn has a better chance with than some people might think is Vodney Cleveland. I know those around Auburn like their relationship with him. He's been to campus multiple times. He works with Coach L up in Birmingham, who's friendly with both Alabama and Auburn, among other programs that come through his area in Birmingham. I don't think that Auburn should be discounted here, and they've just come after him for a long time. But his list, like you would expect for a 300-pound defensive tackle from Parker High School in Birmingham, who's coming off a state title, by the way, is elite. Florida, Georgia, Texas, Miami. This is a who's list of college football programs. Auburn gets that first visit, which can be viewed as a good thing. But when those other schools host, especially like Miami, they just got the number one recruit in the country in Jackson Cantwell, they're probably not going to miss either. Auburn needs some kind of definitive, obvious statement from him or some kind of public comment that he makes that like, okay, we've got a great shot here. He's an in-state guy. I don't think Bama's involved really anymore. He was committed at one point to the Crimson Tide. What do we know and what can we get from this weekend? They need D tackles, and Bodney Cleveland fits the bill. So we'll see if they can get him, but that's a really big visit. Another kid that wouldn't shock me if Auburn pulled a commitment from another offensive lineman, so Blackerby should be happy about this, Dalton Toothman, Van Cleve, Mississippi. Good news is he's trended towards Auburn, taking multiple visits. Now he's back on campus for an OV. Bad news is you still got to beat out not one, but both of the primary in-state schools of Mississippi State and Ole Miss. Plus Clemson is involved. Clemson, in my opinion, does the best job of any coaching staff in America on official visit weekends. If Toothman takes that visit to Clemson, watch out. They do a tremendous job. Here's another chance. It's the first weekend. Can Auburn maybe get him to shut it down, make a public announcement, and move on? They also need offensive linemen in this class, and they're finally just about to the point where their O-line is at a quote-unquote upper echelon SEC level. Getting Toothman would help them. He's a 290-pound kid that can move. It would be a big boost to the Auburn football program. Now, for a couple of kids that I'm not really sure about, plus two that I'm concerned about, we're going to talk about those next here on the Portal Podcast as we finish up with Auburn recruiting. There's nothing like the NBA playoffs, the intensity, the buzzer beaters, the fans losing their minds. It's the kind of atmosphere you must experience live. And this year's matchups are already delivering. Pacers, hey, I'm from Indiana, go Pacers. They've done a great job. You've got some surprises out west. We're going Game 7. There's a lot of fun stuff going on with the NBA. Prices on the app actually drop off as you grow closer to tip-off. And with killer last-minute deals, panoramic seat views, and no surprise fees, Gametime is a total game changer for you. If you're looking for an opportunity, again, as it gets closer to the game and you're thinking about going to an NBA playoff game or any other event for that matter, you're going to get a chance at some really great discounts on the Gametime app. Up to 60% off your opportunity to buy tickets. Doesn't get much better than that. Plus, it's pretty easy to use the app. You're going to be in and out in a couple of minutes, and you're also going to get a seat view anytime you go in there. Click on the seat, and you can see it right in front of you. By the way, we got the NFL schedule being released, so if you're an NFL person, go check it out. See if there's some tickets you'd like to get for this next season. The NFL does a great job of getting their stuff out early, and here's your chance with Gametime to score some tickets. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right. Now, there are a few other players that I am at least a little bit surprised by. At least a little bit surprised by that I don't have a better feel. Maybe that's just me. Maybe it's just I'm not sure where Auburn stands, but these are guys that are going to be visiting this weekend. They could make a move, but I'm a little bit hesitant to say for sure. This is just my opinion. Take it for what it's worth. No more, no less. Bryce Perry-Wringt. He's a kid that a lot of people think Auburn has a good chance with. He's been on campus multiple times. He's a big-time defensive tackle out of Buford High School, just northeast of Atlanta. He fits the profile. He's probably one of those guys that's one step and go, athletic, powerful. He's got the frame to weigh 290 pounds and still be a true athlete. Bryce Perry-Wringt is a guy that I think is going to be a very good college player, and college coaches know it too. His list, among others, I mentioned it a little bit ago. Which school does the best job with visits? Clemson. Guess where Bryce Perry-Wringt is going to visit next? May 30th, he's headed to Death Valley. Auburn needs to make a move this weekend if they truly want to push for him now, because if not, Clemson, they've always done an incredible job, especially in the Peach State with D linemen. They've sucked out more D linemen out of that state that like Kirby Smart or Nick Saban wanted that you can shake a stick at. Auburn too. If you let him get to that weekend, do not be surprised if he ends up a Clemson Tiger. Now, there's rumor that Trenton Henderson is looking really, really hard at the Auburn Tigers. I do not know Trenton. I've seen him from across the room, but I've never spoken to him. So I just want to bring this up in general. The defensive end out of Pensacola Catholic, 6'4", 225, is what you're looking for in terms of the frame. Off a computer screen. Athletic, twitchy, former guy that was like a receiver when he was younger, then just grew out of that spot and into a defensive end spot. I think he will end up being a very good college player, but Florida State, obviously, Panhandle kid, they're going to be coming after him, and he's got a national list. But Auburn is really after him. He could pick pretty much any school he wants, but watch out. Like USC's after him, Florida State, Michigan, and his list could change. But Auburn is one of those schools, even Chad Simmons from On3 has mentioned it, that has a good shot. I've heard this from multiple places, and I saw Chad wrote about it. That made me think, okay, Chad doesn't miss very often. I don't know Trenton, but this one is interesting. Can Auburn pull a kid like this early out of the state of Alabama? It would be a huge boost. He's a top 100 kid by most accounts, and from a physical standpoint, he has the traits to eventually be a top 10 pick in the draft. Not saying he will be, but Trenton Henderson is an elite pass rusher. You can never, ever, ever have enough pass rushers, especially in the Southeastern Conference. CJ Hester, I just want to bring this up just as a reminder. Speaking of Florida players, he's a kid that I was told about when he was a freshman in high school. Generally a good sign. And he's from Cocoa, one of the best programs in the state of Florida, and Dixie. They always have athletes. And this is the kid, again, that was kind of promoted when he was a freshman going to his sophomore year. He's our next guy. And he is. Look at his visit list. Florida's on the list, UCLA, Syracuse, Auburn. He could go to a lot of places. But as a reminder, Florida kids, especially South Florida kids, are very, very unpredictable on where they will go. I have zero clue what's going to happen with CJ. I've been around him a few times, but I do not know him. Maybe the Auburn visit knocks it out of the park, maybe not. He's one of those that I'm just really, really curious about, and we'll see if he ends up at Auburn or somewhere else. But a lot of kids really like Auburn when they take the visit. It's got nice people, the program has playing time to sell, and it's in the Southeastern Conference. Not exactly a very difficult sell. So we'll see. And again, this is the first visit weekend. Who knows? Maybe Auburn knocks it out of the park with CJ Hester, and he commits to the Tigers. Would not shock me. Now, there are two kids that I'm a little bit concerned about because they're very important if you look at it from an Auburn perspective, because they're D linemen. They're players they've went after for a long time, but they've got a lot of guys after them in terms of elite D-line coaches, elite programs, and they're just positions of need every year, D-tackle and D-end. Let's start off with the in-state player, Anthony Jones from St. Paul's Episcopal down in Mobile, Alabama. This is a young man that I actually met at Auburn a little over a year ago when he was on an unofficial visit. Great kid. He's got the length. He's got the size. He has all the attributes you're looking for. But holy cow, the list has just changed so many times, like who's coming after him. But many still think at the end of the day, it'll be Bama or Auburn. Right now, it seems like Bama's trended. I'd heard Texas A&M, but I don't even know if they're getting an official visit. So it's difficult to say. What I do know is Auburn gets the first OB, and they're probably going to get a true sense of whether or not they even have a true shot or if it's just perceived to be Bama and Auburn. His list is pretty wide. Got schools all over the place recruiting him. I don't know where he's going to end up. Could it be LSU or something like that? Sure. Could it be somewhere else outside the state? Maybe even outside the South? It's possible because there are going to be schools that still come after him in the fall. And as a reminder here as well, there is no limit on official visits. So we'll see if any of these young men try to take trips during the college football and high school football season. But Anthony Jones is one of the best pass rushers in the country, and he's an in-state player from the most important city, at least in my opinion, to Auburn in the state of Alabama. The team between Alabama and Auburn that does the best in Mobile oftentimes wins the Iron Bowl, among other things. Anthony Jones is the best recruit from the Mobile area this year. We'll see if either one of them gets him or somebody else, but Auburn needs to figure it out this weekend. Where do we stand? Do we have a great shot? Maybe even could they close on him? Who knows? We'll find out soon enough with Anthony Jones. Finally, Earnest Rankins out of Southwest DeKalb, just outside of Atlanta. This kid is the absolute prototype for the NFL defensive tackle, 6'5 plus, and he has the length. He looks almost like an offensive tackle, to be honest with you, but he doesn't move like one. He's more athletic than a lot of guys his size and by quite a wide range of margin. I don't think you're going to see anybody be disappointed in their efforts to get him, whether they do or not, because there just aren't many frames like him. Everybody that's put in the time, it was well worth it. Now, here's the big question. Georgia is the pickiest school in the country about D linemen. They're very, 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 very picky about height, wingspan, and all that stuff. It's obviously served them well. And he's an in-state kid just outside Atlanta. I don't normally bet against the Tigers, but Georgia would be one of those exceptions. Like Auburn's done a great job with it. Brought him into campus multiple times. But UGA's got the last visit on June 20th. That always concerns me. So while Anthony Jones, I'm not real confident with Auburn, Earnest Rankins with the UGA visit last, that one makes me wonder there. The last visit oftentimes is the key. We'll see. He also has Ole Miss June 13th, and they've done a pretty good job this year. They're kind of a wild card. Lane Kiffin is a pretty good recruiter, and I think he's a bit underrated in that regard. So we'll see with Earnest Rankins, but he's like 6'5 plus, 285. Athletic D tackles like that are really hard to find. But beating Kirby Smart for an in-state kid at that spot is also very, very difficult. We'll see if Auburn can do it. There are some other kids visiting, but those are the ones I got the most information on and I have the most feel for. So I just wanted to touch on those for Auburn's big weekend. But I also do have a couple notes in regards to a couple other kids that I think are important because they're not visiting Auburn this weekend, but they have some serious Auburn ties. The first one is Shadarius Tootle. He's out of Mobile. He's committed to Auburn. He's a kid that is still taking other visits, though. He just visited Michigan and really liked it. He's going to be at Georgia this weekend. The linebacker out of Mobile is one of the best athletes in the state of Alabama. He could play tight end. He could probably play running back. He could play D-end. He's played linebacker at his high school. I don't know where he's going to end up playing in college. I just know that Shadarius Tootle is a very good football player, and they'll figure that out at the college level. Him taking visits is not good for Auburn. We'll see what happens. But Georgia this weekend for Shadarius Tootle. Finally, Wilson Zaire. His brother played for the Auburn Tigers, an offensive lineman. Now, the younger brother, who's been an Auburn fan, admittedly, for quite some time, he's at UGA this weekend. He's got Bama and some other visits coming up as well. Auburn's the favorite, but because Georgia is in very, very big need of offensive tackles, and Zaire is 6'5", 280, 285, and he's very athletic. He's got a great frame. I'd imagine they're going to put the full court press on. They should. They need offensive tackles. And he's at Raven Gap. It's a private school, northeast part of the state. It's kind of out there by itself, but he can play. Auburn needs offensive tackles in this class as well. It would be very, very good for them if they could find him on signing day on their list. But UGA, Bama, and some of these other schools are not going to go away. I'm not saying he's trending away from Auburn, but it will be interesting to see where he stands after this weekend and maybe after a couple of the others too. They're going to make their full court press at all these different SEC schools. Thank you once again for making the Portal Podcast your first listen each and every day. Truly appreciate you stopping in to get all your latest recruiting, NIL, and transfer portal scoop. I will see you again soon. Take care.